tam sajivam sadvaitam sadvajutam parijana sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Kahagana Lalita Shri Vishakkanditam Scha Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Namane Sri Krishna Lila Katane Sudaksham Ordaya Madhuya Gunaischa Yuktam Varam Varenyam Purusham Mahantam Narayanam Tvam Sirasa Namami Sri Dandinam Bhakta Shiromanim Cha Sri Krishna Padabja Duritaikaridhi Chaitanya Lilamrita Sarasaram Narayanam Tvam Satatam Prabhadye Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachayane Nevishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Deshataryane Namam Vishnupadaya Acharya Simharupine Sri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshava Iti Namane Atimatya Charitraya Swashritanam Chapavane Jivaduka Sadartaya Shri Nama Prema Dayane Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namane Shri Varshavanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namah Madhurya Ujjvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatayane Rupanuga Varudyapa Siddhanta Dvanta Haryane Namo Gaur Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambala Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namane Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Vibhava Bhumestvam Nirishta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhuma Shri Jagannatayate Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatam Surato Pangur Mama Manda Madir Matti Gati Matsarvasva Padambo Jo Radhamadana Mohano Divyat Vrindavanya Kalpadrumada Shrimad Ratnagara Samasanasto Rishi Radha Shula Govinda Devo Prestalivi Sevyamanu Smarami Shriman Rasarasaram Vivam Shivata Tatastita Karshan Venu Sanaya Gopir Gopinata Shriyestuna Vrindaya Tulsi Deva Triyaya Keshavaskarcha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatya Namo Namaha Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare sing, play the drum at the same time. Can you play the drum, Balaram? A little.
Would you like a ginger too?
What is that?
Ginger too?
No. I took an herbal throat lozenge for it, so that I wouldn't have that like I did last night. All right. And anyone can handle car towels or not? Want to get a set of car towels for Lolita? You need a chair. Get a chair. Sit down. Be comfortable. Okay, ready? Gurudev Kripa Katake, page 197 here. I think it's like 242 in that book. What number is it? 249? 249? Gurudev Kripa Karke Mujhko Apna Lena. Gurudev Kripa Karke Mujhko Apna Lena. My Sharana Padateri Charano Me Jagadena. My Sharana Padateri Charano Me Jagadena. Charano me jagadena. Charano me jagadena. Gurudev Kripa Karke Mujhko Apna Lena. Karuna Nidhi Nama Tera Karuna Gara Ghosu Karuna Nidhi Nama Tera Karuna Parasamotu Soye uye bhagya ko enat jagatu Soye uye bhagya ko enat jagatu enat jagatu enat jagatu Mere गुरुदेव कृपा करके मुझको अपना लेना। तू सुख के सागर हो, बाती के सहारे हो। मेरे मन में समाए हो, मुझे प्राणों से प्यारे हो। प्यारे हो, मुझे प्राणों से प्यारे हो। प्राणों से प्यारे हो। निकमान जपू तेरी, मेरे दोष भुला देना। मेरे तेरी, मेरे दोष भुला देना। गुरुदेव कृपा करके मुझको अपना लेना। मैं संजोग सेवा कहो, गुरु चरणों का दासा हो। सेवा कहो, गुरु चरणों का दासा हो। नहीं ना बुलाना मुझे इस जाग में अकेला हो। नहीं ना बुलाना मुझे इस जाग में अकेला हो। इस जाग में अकेला हो। तेरे द्वार का भिखारी हूँ, नहीं दिल से बुला देना। नहीं दिल से बुला देना। गुरुदेव कृपा करके मुझको अपना लेना। जय गुरुदेवा, 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 जय गुरुदेवा। Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Okay. Do this one, Padamakaruna. Page 48 here, I don't know what page it's on. This is a 1-2 beat, unfortunately. Let's see if you can follow it. Otherwise, you know what we can do. Let's change it. So we'll stay with the 1-2-3 beat. Goranga Bolite Habe. We'll do that one. Page 40 here. I don't know what page it is there. Ready? Gauranga Bolite Have Pulaka Sarira Hari Hari Bolite Na Yane Babenira Gauranga Bolite Have Hari Hari Bolite Na Yane Babenira Arakabe Nitai Chande Karunai Be Sorry. Samsara Vasana Mora Kabe Tu Chabe Arakabe Nitai Chande Karunai Be Samsara Vasana Mora Kabe Tu Chahave Vishaya Chadiya Kabe Shudaha Bima Na Kabe Hamahera Vrindavana. You have to respond. I can't sing everyone. It's not possible for me to sing every thing and every repeat and every response and every
Get
lead.
you out of this, Maharaj.
I have no breath, you know. Vishaya chadiya kabe shudabe mana kabe hamaraba Shri Vrindavana Rupa Raghunatha Pade Aibe Akuti Kabe Hama Bujavase Yugala Piriti Rupa Rupa Raghunatha Pade Rahu Mola Asha Ratanakaraye Sada Narottama Dasa Gauranga Bolide Ave Bhuvakasharira Hari Hari Boli Ena Yane Babenira Jaya Sachinandan Gaura Hari Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Okay, so now we're going to do Gai Gaur Madhur Sure. It's on page 108 in that book. What's the matter, Ben? What? I thought you had more books. You only have 3 books? Okay. Gai Gaura Madhusware Gai Gaura Madhusware Gai Gaura Madhusware Gai 1 2 1 2 1 Gai Gaura Madhusware Gai Gaura Madhusware Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Don't play any card, don't play anything. Just listen. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Gauramadhusware, Jai Gauramadhusware, Grihe Tako Bane Tako, Sada Hari Bole Dako, Grihe Tako Zane Tako, Sada Hari Bole Dako, Suke Duke Bule Nako, Valane Hari Nambolore. Suke Duke Bule Nako, Valana Hari Nam Korore. Gauramadhusware, Jai Maya Jale Bada Hoye, Achamiche Kajaloye, Maya Jale Bada Hoye, Achamiche Kajaloye, Ekano Chetana Peye, Radhamadhav Nambolore, Ekano Chetanya Peye, Radhamadhav Nambolore. Jai Gauramadhusware, Jivana hoelo shesh, Nabajile rishike, Jivana shesh, Nabajile rishike, Bhakti Vinodupadesh, Ekbar Nama Rase Matare, Bhakti Vinodupadesh, Ekbar Rase Matare, Nai Gauramadhusware, Madhusware, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Radha Krishna Bol. Radha, Radha Krishna Bola Bol. Bole Sobai. Radha Krishna Bola Bol. Bole Sobai. Radha Krishna Bola Bol. Bole Sobai. Radha Eshikadia, Shabnadia, Viche Niche Gaurdidai. Radha Krishna Bola Bol, Bolo Sobai. Miche Maya Ravase, Jatsha Beshe, Tatsha Budubai. Radha Krishna Bola 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 Re Sobai. Jiva Krishna Das E Vishwas Kale Tohara Dukanai. Radha Krishna Bola 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 Sobai. Krishna Bobe Jabe Pulaka Habe Jabe Anki Bolidai. Radha Krishna Bola Bol Bolore Sobai. Radha Krishna Bola Sange Chalo E Matra Diksha Chai Radha Krishna. Radha Krishna Bola Bol Bole Sobai. Jaya Sakala Vipoda Bhakata Vinoda Bolena Jakana Onamagai. Jaya Sakala Vipoda Bhakata Vinoda Bolena Jakana Onamagai. Come on, come on.
Jaya Sakala
Radha Krishna Bola Bol Bole Sobai. Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Sri Krishna. talk for a while, and then Ashram Maharaj will come and he'll do a kirtan and he'll say something. Okay? Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurandritanyena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya-manabhistam Savidhanyena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Karamaya Dadanti Swapadanti Kam. First of all, I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Diksha and Shiksha Guru, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Satara Satasi Simad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada. Excuse me. Then I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Shiksha and Sannyas Guru, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Satara Satasi Simad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Then I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada, and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And then I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of the great acharyas in our line, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the teachings all the way to Lord Brahma. And I offer my humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are present here today. So, yesterday we spoke about Jiva Tattva. One issue that we did not address in depth was the Jiva falling from the spiritual world. This is a big issue. Yesterday I quoted 2 quotes for you from the Ishopanishads. You remember? Srila Prabhupada had spoken these 2 verses, 2 points in the purport from the Ishopanishads about the origin of the jiva. He gives a very direct explanation. The all-pervading feature of the Lord, which exists in all circumstances of waking and sleeping, as well as in all potential states, and from which the jiva shakti, the living force, is generated as both conditioned and liberated souls, is known as Brahman. And here we see he's saying directly that all conditioned and all liberated souls are generated from Brahman. He further reinforces that statement in the next mantra in the purport. As we have learned from the previous mantra, the Brahma Jyoti emanating from the transcendental body of the Lord is full of spiritual sparks that are individual entities with the full sense of existence. So here he makes it very clear in both of these statements that the Jiva Shakti is generated by the Brahman. Now, the first argument that you're going to hear about this is, but Prabhupada said in the letter that we don't come from the Brahman. Prabhupada said. This is the first thing you're going to hear. Okay. So let me tell you the truth about the letters, all right? And, you know, both Brahmananda, when I discussed this with Brahmananda, he remembered it. Shamasundar remembers it. They remember it. Of course, now that this video is coming out, everyone's going to be running to Brahmananda and Shamasundar and tell them to have no memory of this anymore, because this is what they do. Whenever I quote one of my godbrothers as saying something against what, you know, the mandated philosophy of the Jiva fall, or if I say something, quote one of my godbrothers, like one time one of my godbrothers said, I was in the room on November 13th, the day before Srila Prabhupada left, and I heard him say in English to Narayan Maharaj, I want you to go to the Western countries and finish training my disciples in Bhakti Yoga. I want you to go there and help them to understand Bhakti. And one of my godbrothers said this to me, and so then I quoted it in a paper that I wrote, and then my godbrother told me when he spoke to me a few months later, he said the GBCs were calling him up and saying, why did you say that? And he said, well, Prabhupada said it. Prabhupada said those words. So I was only quoting what Prabhupada said. Don't say anything that Prabhupada said that's favorable to Narayan Maharaj. Don't say it. Even if Prabhupada said it, don't say it. So this is what happens, okay? So now I can promise you 100% that I'm going to tell you the truth about the letters right now, and very soon you're going to hear some statement coming from Harry Story or the GBC, oh, that never happened, well, it never really was like that, but that's not what it meant, or it wasn't really meant to be, it doesn't, no, that's, you know, they're going to use some word jugglery to try and twist this around, and Brahmananda and Shamasundar are going to have short memories, and they're not going to remember, and, you know, this is what's going to happen, you know, but I'm telling you the truth right now, this is what happened. At one point, Shamasundar was Prabhupada's personal secretary. And he used to make 12 copies of all the letters that Srila Prabhupada sent out to all the devotees. And those copies went to the 12 GBCs. The idea was that the GBCs would see how Prabhupada was writing letters to different devotees and explaining to them how to resolve different problems and situations that they were dealing with. Okay? And so, what happened was, some of the letters were very sensitive. There was one letter to a sannyasi at the time. The sannyasi had been married, and then he took sannyas from Prabhupada, and then his wife left the movement and got involved with another man outside and started eating meat. And then, you know, she informed devotees about it, who informed him about it, and he became upset. So he wrote to Prabhupada and said, should I go and save her? And Prabhupada said, no, you're done. You've taken sannyas. Now it's up to her. She's got to figure out her life. Your responsibility to her is over. Krishna will take care of it. Don't worry about it. So then there was one GBC, his name was Krishnadas, and he was a scientist. So he read about Rahu and the eclipse, and he wrote to Prabhupada, and he said, I can't accept this, you know, because I'm a scientist, and I know that the moon is here, and the sun is here, and the earth gets in the middle, and we have all the math, and we know that there's an eclipse, is just a shadow of the earth on the moon or the sun, and there's no Rahu, nobody's ever seen a Rahu. So Prabhupada wanted to pacify him, so he said, sometimes in the Bhagavatam there's allegories, and Rahu's an allegory. Just to pacify him. So then what started happening was that every GBC had some favorite devotees in the temple or in the wherever they were that started reading the letters also. I was just a young brahmachari. Brahmananda used to give me the letters and let me read them. I was reading all the letters. So I knew about all these things. So then what happened was, these devotees started writing to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, you said there's no allegories in the Bhagavatam, but you wrote this letter to Krishnadas and said that the Bhagavatam has allegories. So Prabhupada said, this is not good. The general devotees are not supposed to read these letters. I wrote that to Krishnadas just to pacify him, because he was in a crisis. So I wrote it to pacify him. He said, and then later I was going to rectify his understanding. If Rahu is an allegory, then is Mohini, who cuts off his head, an allegory? If Mohini is an allegory, is Krishna, who's the source of Mohini, an allegory? Where does the allegory stop? Rahu is not an allegory. We may not be able to see Rahu any more than an ant in your garden cannot see you when you're pouring water on him from the hose. Now the ant and the human being are technically in the same dimension. They're both standing in the garden. But all the ant sees is water coming at him. He has no consciousness or ability to see you and know that you exist. Therefore, that doesn't mean that you don't exist just because he can't see or consciously digest that your existence is there. Technically, you're in a different dimension from the ant. He can't digest your ability. His consciousness cannot understand your existence. Similarly, Rahu is there, but consciously we can't see his existence. Technically, he's in another dimension, beyond our ability to see him. But that doesn't mean he's not there any more than it means that I'm not there because the ant can't see me in the garden pouring the water on the hose. So this is just a misunderstanding of interdimensional consciousness, okay? Rahu exists. So Prabhupada said, my letters are not for everyone. I write the letters for certain individuals to help them. That letter was for Krishnadas. So, here's another interesting point. I looked through the entire folio. Every conversation, I did a search in the conversations. I did a search in the lectures. I did a search in the books. I did a search in every magazine article. Never once in my entire search is it written or is it spoken directly by Srila Prabhupada from his mouth that my books are the law books for the next 10,000 years. Nowhere. Shruti Kirti has heard it, and other devotees have heard it. Many devotees have said that they have heard it, and in their Vyasa Puja offerings, they quote, Prabhupada said, my books will be the law books for the next 10,000 years. I accept that. So now, if you accept that conception, that the books are the law books, and you accept that Prabhupada said, in fact, he wrote a letter, which, of course, is not in the folio. He wrote a letter specifically saying, my letters are not for everyone. So now, which is more authoritative as Siddhanta? What he wrote here in the book and says that the Brahma Jyoti generates the jivas, both the conditioned and the liberated souls? Or the letter that he wrote to pacify somebody who had a misconception? No, we don't come from the Brahman. We come from Krishna. Yeah, I explained that last night. We do come from Krishna. Which Krishna? Haribol, Ashram Maharaj. So, in that letter he wrote, we didn't come from the Brahman. We came from Krishna. Which Krishna? We came from Mahavishnu. I explained this last night. It's explained by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the Jaiva Dharma. Where does Mahavishnu get the jivas from? It's explained here in the Upanishad. They're generated from the Brahman. And Balaram takes them and puts them in Goloka, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Jaiva Dharma. And Mula Sankarshan takes them and puts them in Mathura and Dwarka. And Mahasankarshan takes them and puts them in the Vaikuntha planets. And Mahavishnu takes them and glances on the material world, and some of them go to the spiritual world, and some of them come to the material world. So yes, we were with Krishna, we were with Mahavishnu. But before that, we were generated from the Brahman, according to Prabhupada right here in the Upanishad. And Prabhupada says in the letter, we were with Krishna in his Leela or sport. Yes, we're in the Leela and sport of creation by Krishna. Everything is very clear. These statements that Prabhupada made in the letter were just to try and help us to be less impersonal. How do we know this? Because there was one dear, dear godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, Dr. O.B.L. Kapoor, O.B. Harilal Kapoor. You see him in videos and photographs in the installation of the Krishna Balaram Mandir when they have the parade in the street. O.B.L. Kapoor is walking right next to Prabhupada in the march, in the parade. He said that one time he asked Prabhupada, how come you make some ambiguous statements about the jiva? Like, it appears like you're saying that they fall from the spiritual world here. Why do you say that? He said, because the Westerners are so impersonal, that I have to give them some idea that they had a form previously, they had some spiritual personality previously. So I tell them in an ambiguous way so that it's sort of like their idea of falling from Adam and Eve, coming from the Garden of Eden to the world. So I give it some kind of idea like that, because that's their Christian background. He said, but it's only because they have such an impersonal conception. So this is what he told O.B.L. Kapoor. Now, we look at what Srila Prabhupada says in the different books, and we see very clearly that there's no question of this concept of a fall. First we look at the Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is the 7th canto. And in the 7th canto, when Narada Muni is explaining the story to Yudhisthira about how Giant Vijay come to this world, Yudhisthira is a little alarmed. And so he gives this verse. He asks this question of Narada Muni. He says, the bodies of the inhabitants of Vaikuntha are completely spiritual and have nothing to do with the material body, senses, or life there. Therefore, kindly explain how associates of the personality of Godhead were cursed to descend into material bodies like ordinary persons. How is this possible? Maya does not cross the Viraja River. She doesn't even enter into the Karnadak Ocean area. What to speak of enter into Vaikuntha. So there is no Maya in Vaikuntha. If there's no Maya in Vaikuntha, then what will the jiva... Bhaktivinoda Thakur specifically says that the jivas that are placed in Goloka, the jivas that are placed in Mathura and Dwarka, and the jivas that are placed in Vaikuntha never see the material world and have no knowledge of it. So from where would they get the idea to go there? From where would they get the conception? It doesn't exist in their realm of consciousness. So therefore, he's very surprised. Yudhishthira says, but the bodies of the inhabitants of Vaikuntha are completely spiritual and have nothing to do with the material body, senses, or life air. Therefore, kindly explain how associates of the personality of Godhead were cursed to descend into material bodies like ordinary persons. Because we don't come from Vaikuntha, we come from Tatashta Shakti. We come from Mahavishnu. We come from the Karnadak ocean. We come from there. So how is it possible? Prabhupada says, very significant question. This very significant question would be difficult for an ordinary person to answer. But Narada Muni, being an authority, could answer it. Therefore Maharaj Yudhishthira inquired from him, saying, Etad akyatam arhasi. Only you can explain the reason. From authoritative sources it can be discerned that associates of Lord Vishnu who descend from Vaikuntha do not actually fall. They come with the purpose of fulfilling the desire of the Lord, and their descent to this material world is comparable to that of the Lord. The Lord comes to this material world through the agency of his internal potency, and similarly, when a devotee or associate of the Lord descends to the material world, he does so through the action of the spiritual energy. Any pastime conducted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead is an arrangement by Yogamaya, not Mahamaya. Therefore, it is to be understood that when Jai and Vijay descended to this material world, they came because there was something to be done for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, it is a fact that no one falls from Vaikuntha. It's very clear. It's very clear. No one falls from Vaikuntha. Let's look at Bhagavat Gita. Mamupetya punarjanma dukkalaya mashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gatha. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. So now, if someone who goes to the spiritual world would never come back, then why would he come here in the first place? If he had no knowledge of it, why would he come here in the first place? So this idea is, the argument that is given is that, well, once they've been to the material world, they know how dangerous it is and they don't want to go back to the material world, so that's why they never come back. So in other words, they're in Goloka out of fear, not out of love. The process of bhakti is not the process of fear, it's the process of love. So if you're staying in the spiritual world because you're afraid of Maya, that's not bhakti. Bhakti means the tendency to give pleasure to Krishna. Are you there to give pleasure to Krishna? Or are you there because you're scared of Maya? Therefore, this is a completely illusory concept that, oh, I stay there because I'm afraid of Maya. That's not within the realm of the principles of bhakti that are given by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Therefore, this is a rejected argument, unacceptable argument. Now we look at what Srila Prabhupada says very, very directly when he talks about, this is in the 28th chapter of the Krishna book, okay? Very clear, very, very clear what he says here. Everyone is under the impression that he is of this material world. They're under the impression that they're here. Okay? And with this concept of life, everyone is working in ignorance in different forms of life. The activities of the particular type of body are called karma, or fruit of action. All conditioned souls under the impression of the bodily conception are working according to their particular type of body. These activities are creating their future conditional life. Because they have very little information of the spiritual world, they do not generally take to spiritual activities, which are called bhakti yoga. Now, listen to the words that Prabhupada uses here. He chooses his words very, very carefully. Those who successfully practice bhakti yoga, after giving up this present body, go directly to the spiritual world and become situated in one of the Vaikuntha planets. The inhabitants of Vrindavan are all pure devotees. Their destination after quitting the body is Krishna Loka. Remember when I was talking to you last night about how the 4 kinds of moksha or liberation and people who go to Vaikuntha just for moksha, for liberation, to be on the planet of the Lord, or to be in association with the Lord, have features of the Lord, or opulences of the Lord, these kinds of things, this kind of moksha. Therefore, Prabhupada is making the point, the inhabitants of Vrindavan are pure devotees. They're not just in Vaikuntha for moksha. Although some people in Vaikuntha do have dasya ras, bhakti ras. They're there out of that, with that conception, and they're servants of Lord Narayan, and they have the mood of bhakti. But there are others who are there out of moksha. So, now Prabhupada is saying, the inhabitants of Vrindavan are all pure devotees. Their destination after quitting the body is Krishna Loka. They even surpass the Vaikuntha Lokas. The fact is, those who are always engaged in Krishna consciousness and mature, pure devotional service are given the chance after death to gain Krishna's association in the universe within the material world. Krishna's pastimes are continually going on either in this universe or another universe, just as the sun globe is passing through many places across this earthly planet. So Krishna Lila, or the transcendental advent and pastimes of Krishna, are also going on continually, either in this or another universe. The mature devotees who have completely executed Krishna consciousness. Okay? First he says, those who successfully practice bhakti yoga go to Vaikuntha. But the mature pure devotees who have completely executed Krishna consciousness are immediately transferred to the universe where Krishna is appearing. In that universe, the devotees get their first opportunity to associate with Krishna personally and directly. Very clear. That means we had no opportunity to associate with Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna from Goloka, either personally or directly, prior to this point. This is our first opportunity. Very clear. Prabhupada there's nothing ambiguous about this statement. The books are the authority, not the letters. Prabhupada said, when I write a letter to somebody, it's for that individual. It's not for everyone. So because he wrote a letter to one guy saying, well, we're not really in the Brahman, or he wrote something to somebody else, to Jagadish, and gave it, Srila Gurudev made it very clear. This is baby food for babies. This is Prabhupada just trying to help us along in the early stages. But the books, he said, read my books. Everything is in my book. Here it is. It's in the Ishopanishad. It's here in the Krishna book. It's in the Bhagavatam. Again and again, the same point is repeated over and over. And here it is saying, very clearly, in that universe, the devotee gets their first opportunity to associate with Krishna personally and directly. The training goes on as we see in Vrindavan Leela of Krishna within this planet. Krishna therefore revealed the actual feature of the Vaikuntha planets so that the inhabitants of Vrindavan could know their destination was the Loka. So here we see from the different books of Srila Prabhupada, from the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Jaiva Dharma, very, very clear, the jiva does not fall from Goloka. The jiva does not fall from Vaikuntha. Prabhupada says, the conditioned and liberated souls are generated from the Brahman. They are sparks within the Brahman, and then they are placed by the different Vishnu Tattva deities, expansions, into different places within the spiritual and material world. So, this is the actual position. This is what is our condition here. As I gave you an explanation last night, all about the difference between your physical body, your subtle body, the chakras, everything, the soul, where its placement is, the consciousness that extends from the soul. I gave you all that information last night. But tonight I wanted to cover this point about how we don't fall. I did mention last night where we come from, but I wanted to get in more detail the fact that we do not fall, and I wanted to cover all the arguments and all the points and all the things that they say are counter to what is being stated here in Srila Prabhupada's books directly, and to make it clear that letters are not evidence. If what's in the letters are not in the books, the letter is to be considered something to pacify the individual because the individual didn't know better. That's all, just to pacify him. He specifically said, I wrote that to Krishna Das that Rahu was an allegory simply to pacify him. Now, he was going to deal with that later on. Unfortunately, Krishna Das didn't remain. But the fact of the matter is, Rahu is not an allegory, because if he's an allegory, then Mohini's an allegory. If Mohini's an allegory, Krishna's an allegory, and the whole thing is just a fantasy. So therefore, it's what I explained before. Rahu is an entity that is in a different dimension than our consciousness can accommodate. Just like if you were in the backyard and you were hosing down the grass, and the ant could not see you. He sees the water coming, but he doesn't see you. Does that mean you're not there? It means you're beyond the reality or the dimension of his consciousness to accommodate your existence. Rahu is in a different dimension, a different reality, beyond our consciousness and our ability to see and conceive of his existence. So, therefore, when Prabhupada said this to Krishna Das, it was obviously a pacification for him so that he could continue with his service. But the truth in the Bhagavatam that Prabhupada talks about in the purports is very clear. Rahu is real. He exists. And Prabhupada writes in letters, we came ambiguously that we may have fallen from the spiritual world, but the fact of the matter is that in the books, he's very clear. No one falls from Vaikuntha. Your first opportunity to see Krishna personally and directly comes when you become a mature pure devotee and Krishna conscious, exercise your Krishna consciousness completely, not just successfully, and then you're able to see Krishna face to face, your first opportunity to see him face to face, personally and directly. Then it becomes clear. It's very clear in all of his books what the position is, where the jiva comes from, and what our relationship with Krishna is eternally. So these points I wanted to make, we've finished covering this aspect of Jiva Tattva. I went over all the other points last night. And now we have a special guest, Bhaktivedanta Ashram Maharaj. Very dear devotee, disciple, first and second initiated by someone who's very close to my heart, Srila Bhagavat Goswami Maharaj. He's got first and second initiation from Bhagavat Maharaj, Srila Bhagavat Maharaj. He took sannyas from Srila Narayan Maharaj. And that's a whole other thing. Maybe Friday I'll tell you some very intimate pastimes about Srila Bhagavat. And I did want to finish up what I was going to, with one little pastime that Srila Gurudev talks about. Really nice pastime about the cowherd boys in Vrindavan with Krishna. And I'm going to tell it in a short version so that we give Maharaj more time to speak. But once all the cowherd boys go with Krishna to Bandirvan to have, to herd the cows. And so while they're in Bandirvan, then the lunch is put out, and all the cowherd boys are sitting around Krishna and they're taking lunch together. And, they're feeding Krishna and Krishna's feeding them and they're having fun. And then Gurudev explains how, at that point, the cows wander off into Munjaban, and they get entangled in the creepers that are in Munjaban, and they can't get out from Munjaban. So they start mooing and calling and crying, and then the cowherd boys get up and they go to Munjaban to get the cows out, and they get stuck. And then this demon starts a fire, a forest fire, to kill all of the cowherd boys and cows. So then they call out to Krishna, and Krishna has to come and get rid of the forest fire. And so Krishna comes, and then what he does is, he tells all the cowherd boys, you close your eyes. Now there's a very significant meaning behind all of it, why he tells them to close their eyes. Because he knows, first of all, that they're going to be frightened from seeing him swallow the fire. But secondly, they're going to go complain to Mother Yasoda, who's then going to look in his mouth, and then see the universal form, and then call all the Brahmins, and then they're going to bathe him with all the Panchagovya and the Pancha... He doesn't want to go through all of that. So he says, okay, close your eyes. You all close your eyes, and I'll take care of it. So they close their eyes, he swallows the fire, then he tells them to wake up. And when they wake up, they're sitting back in Mandirvan with all the cows, and they're eating lunch with Krishna. So Gurudev says, they're starting to think, were we in Mandirvan? Was there a fire? Did something happen? Or did we just daydream that? Gurudev said, when you achieve spiritual enlightenment, he said, your memory of the material world will be like this. You'll even wonder if you were actually there. It'll just dissipate in your consciousness. And you'll forget about it, and you'll just enter into the past times. Prabhupada gave a similar example. He said, you dream in the night about being eaten by a tiger or being a king or so many things. He said, when the dream is going on, it's very real. He said, but when you wake up, as you're waking up, all those dreams pass by your consciousness in a few seconds, and you enter into your present state as Mr. So-and-so, and you begin your life, your day. He said, similarly, when you become enlightened in Krishna consciousness and you realize your eternal spiritual form, he said, all of your millions of births will pass by you just like the night's dreaming in a few seconds. Boom, 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 and disappear. So they both gave you examples. So that was one last piece of puzzle information. And now I want to please ask, you have a question now?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay.
So it was very interesting, the description you gave about what Prabhupada told OBL before as the reason.
Yeah.
That we're so impersonal.
Yes.
That we need to hold on to this concept. So where is that, where did we hear this? Is it on a recording or?
There was a conversation between Prabhupada and OBL where they told to one of my godbrothers who made me promise not to tell his name so that he doesn't get harassed by the GBC. Why are you telling these things? So,
It's a special transmission.
I can't tell you who told me about it. Okay? Because if I tell you, then the GBC is going to see this on Facebook, and everyone's going to start calling him up. Why do you say this? Why do you shouldn't say it. Even if it's true, it doesn't matter because it doesn't fit our GBC concept. So I can't tell. I promised them I wouldn't tell.
Not recorded in the...
No, it wasn't recorded, they were just having a conversation. And then OBL Kapoor told them about it. OBL Kapoor told one of my godbrothers about this, what happened in their conversation. And he didn't record that either. It was just a conversation between him and OBL Kapoor. But he can't, he doesn't want to be harassed by everybody saying it, so. He told me about it, but I can't tell you. Sorry.
No, it's good.
So everyone wants to hear you do about at least one Bible, or one song, and then tell, do something. So, huh? Yeah. And now I'm going to give the microphone to my dear Nasi God brother, and my picture God brother, wife. Bhaktivedanta Ashram Maharaj Ki.
Okay, so page 58 in the yellow book.
Who can play Mridanga? You play Mridanga. Get Kartal. Where's the Kartal? You have to go sing. When I was singing before, I had nobody to sing. No one could play.
Kabe habe heno dasamu.
Garumbi, is this set up so that he can be seen on here?
I believe so.
Okay.
Let me just double check. Yep.
Okay.
Kabe. Kabe. Kabe heno dasamura. Jana Patito Janira Pandu Agora Nitai Tora Tutibai Patito Janira Pandu Adama Patita Ani Hedu Jano Adama Patita Ani Hedu Jano Aumore Kripasinu Gobe Gobe Hino Kandite Shola Kroshadam Janavi Ubaya Pule Kandite Shola Kroshadam Janavi Ubaya Pule Brahmite Brahmite Kabubanga Pale Brahmite Brahmite Kripa Sindhi Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. First off, on my most respectful basis, unto lotus feet of my Diksha Guru, Om Vishnu Pada Stutta Sutta Shishma Srila Gaura Govinda Goswami Maharaj. Again, I offer my most respectful obeisances unto those who my sannyasi Shiksha Guru, Om Vishnu Pada Stutta Sutta Shishma Srila Bhaktivinoda Narayana Goswami Maharaj. My most respectful obeisances on those feet of my Param Guru days, Nitya Leela Provision Om Vishnu Pada Stutta Sutta Shishma Srila Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada, and Nitya Leela Provision Om Vishnu Pada Stutta Sutta Shishma Srila Bhaktivinoda Krishna Goswami Maharaj. And my most respectful obeisances unto all Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, So Maharaj is very kind to give me permission to speak, and I'm very fortunate to be able to speak and be purified by all of you. So Maharaj has spoken very nicely on Jiva Tattva, on the source of the Jiva, source of the living entity. In Jivadhamma, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, as Maharaj has also touched upon or spoken on, that the living entities coming from that region, Tata, the Tata, dividing line, and coming from that region, that those living entities that come into this material world, then via Mahavishnu, Karandakshay Vishnu, then they enter through his glands into the womb of the material energy, Maya. And we see that in this world, just like in the pranam mantras of Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada, has Nivishesha Sunyavadi Paskata Deshatarina, that he's come to deliver this world which is filled with impersonalism and voidism. So we see that in the world today, that most people who take to transcendental thought, then their goal is to merge into the oneness. And we see even here in the West, we're just speaking, coming up in the car, that you have so many people that take into different types of spirituality. And mostly their goal is to become one with the Supreme, that ultimately we are Supreme, and we've not realized that we're Supreme. And when we, by process of realizing that we're Supreme, then we'll be able to have the desire of the Supreme, and that anything we desire we can have, the law of attraction. You've heard? So, why is it so prevalent? And we see that Srila Prabhupada has in his pranam mantra that specifically he's come, one of the reasons is to to deal with this which is very rampant in Western society. Maharaj explained that Srila Prabhupada told OBL Kapoor, Pujapad OBL Kapoor, that he explained that we're fallen from the spiritual world to give us more of a personalist kind of understanding. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains that the living entity that comes from that Tata region is imbued with, what is it? No, I'm speaking from Tata. With, is it like Brahma Gyan? But that potency of Ladini Shakti, that's not manifest in that region. So when one means all of us who have come from that region, then within us is that tendency of Brahma Gyan. So the tendency to go towards a personalist philosophy, it does not come spontaneously. But rather what comes is an impersonal kind of understanding. So how that person's understanding can come, that comes when one comes in contact with devotee or devotees who are imbued with the Swarup Shakti, the Chit Shakti. That Chit Shakti, where Ladini Shakti is very much prevalent. And then by their mercy, then from that inculcation of Ladini Shakti into the heart of the conditioned soul, then that mood of having a personal relationship, it becomes prominent within the heart. That so we are very much dependent on the association of those devotees who are realized souls. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti vidkana rasayana katan tajoshanat ashu apavagavatni shradharati bhakti anukramisiti. That satam means those devotees who they have this sat potency, Swarup Shakti. The Swarup Shakti has three functions: Ladini, the pleasure potency; Samvit, knowledge potency; and Sandini, the potency of existence. So especially this Ladini Shakti, this pleasure potency, that when one does Satam Prasangam, when one associates with those devotees, sadhus, who have Prasangam, means very, very intimate association, that one may do Sangha, and one may have physical association. But Prasangam means to associate with the heart. So when one does Satam Prasangam, then the effect of that Prasangam is that mood, especially that Ladini Shakti, which is coming from the heart of such sadhus, then it is transferred from their heart into our heart. Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido. So that is, Virya Samvido is very, very powerful. And then Nivishesha Sunnavadi Paskata Deshatarine. Not just Paskata Deshatarine, actually the whole world is filled with this impersonalist philosophy. That even if you go to India, most transcendentalists they're also impersonalists. So it's not just the Western world, but it's the whole world. Because we're coming from that Tatasa Shakti where Brahmagyan is there within the heart, but this Ladini Shakti is not manifested. In fact, another evidence that we haven't been there in the transcendental world is that once that Chit Shakti is awoken within the heart, then that knowledge which is there, one never again comes under the influence of ignorance. What to speak of those in the transcendental world, but even one who's achieved Bhav Bhakti. One time, Srila Narayan Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, he was telling me, he said that it may be said that theoretically that somebody from Bhav may fall down. He said theoretically, he said, but I know of no example of anybody who have achieved that stage that can fall down. Example that's given in the Bhagavatam is Bharat Maharaj. But that there is just for instruction, to show that one has to be very careful about material attachment, even going up to such a high level. So Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido, that it is very powerful, that the association of those devotees where the Chit Shakti has awoken within their heart. And how to associate? Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido Bhavanti Ritkana, to go and to hear from such sadhus. But to hear from such sadhus, not with the ear, but with the heart. And hearing from such sadhus, what to speak of hearing from such sadhus, but just being in their proximity. Then the scorching heat of the desert effect of material existence, it becomes eradicated. Just in their association. What to speak of hearing their Harikatha. And then hearing their Harikatha, then that sweet nectar which is coming, then it softens the heart, which is parched like a desert. And then starts to plant within the heart, then the seeds of Ladini Shakti, Samvit Shakti, and Sandini Shakti. And then by further hearing, then these seeds, they're watered by such sadhus. So, the mercy of the Lord within this world is coming through his sadhus. That sadhus, they come and they take the living entity that has been suffering in this material world for so many lifetimes, taking on so many different isms, whether it be nationalism, whether it be socialism. I've been associated with people who are having also another kind of ism, blackism, whatever kind of ism. Then it takes one from that misconception. Hinduism, that's another ism. So it takes one from that misconception that I am not Hindu, I am not black, I am not white, I am not American, but actually I am a resident by mercy of Guru Vaga of Sri Vrindavan Dham, that I'm a bridge person. So this is done solely by the association of pure devotees. So it says, Tajoshanat Atman. Satam Prasangam Mamabir Samvido Bhavanti Vikana Rasayana Kata. By hearing their kata, which is very, very sweet, that what to speak of their kata, that just their presence is very sweet. That just their presence is enough to eradicate the influence of ignorance. I don't know if I told this one time. I was in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro. And I was feeling very much the influence of material energy. Very much the influence of material energy. I was being overwhelmed. I've told you this story before. And then I just thought, I need Gurudev. So then he was in Houston. I called up Houston. They said, oh, he has just left in the car. Give me the mobile number. And then I called up mobile number. Somebody was in the car. They passed the phone to Gurudev. I said, Gurudev, Maya's on my head. And then Gurudev laughed. Ha ha ha. Who called Maya? And then immediately, all the effect was gone. Maya was gone. And then hung up the phone. This is Satam Prasangam Mama Veya Sampido. That such sadhus, they have such potency. And we should always be on the guidance of such sadhus. We should always pray for such sadhu sangha. Because such sadhu sangha is our only hope. Without that, we have no hope. Without that, we are destined to drown in this ocean of material existence until we get such sadhu. So, Satam Prasangam Mamavir Samvido Bhavanti Vikana Rasayana Kata. And then when they speak, then even more potency is coming. And that potency is coming and is obliterating the impersonalism which is within the heart. It is obliterating the materialism which is within the heart. And it's bringing a flow of nectar of the transcendental world. Tajoshanat Ashu, immediately it comes by the association. Tajoshanat Ashu, Apavaga Vatmani. Apavaga, that now we're becoming free from the suffering of which is coming from great material endurance in this material world. And they bring Shraddha, Rati, Bhakti. First they give transcendental faith. That we're not of this world. Our happiness is not of this world. But our happiness is there with sadhus, with Gurudev. Our happiness is there in Vrindavan Dham. Sadhu. And then, by taking to the process of chanting, under guidance. Always we should be under guidance. Taking shelter of hearing and chanting. Every day. Very, very purposely. When we get up. That what is my goal? How to achieve bhav. Kriti sadhya bhavat sadhya. Bhavasa sadhana vidha. Nitya siddhasya bhavasya. That when doing our sadhana bhakti, then our sadhana bhakti should be with the mood that, how bhav, when bhav, kabe habe, we're singing about kabe habe, when bhav will awaken within my heart. In this way, chanting every syllable, every mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and in sadhu sangha. If we're not physically with the sadhus, then the sadhus should be in our heart. Just 2 days ago, you did Guru Purnima. Guru Purnima. That worshipping Gurudev and worshipping all our Guru Parampara and all the Gurus of all 4 Sampradayas. This is Guru Purnima. That they're all manifestations of Sri Krishna. You have Vyasti Guru and Samasti Guru. Samasti is the sum total, Balaram. And Vyasti Guru are all those personalities who are expansions of Balaram, who are coming in disciplic succession from the 4 Sampradayas. So when chanting, then be in association with these personalities. Remember their moods. Remember their pastimes. Remember their mercy and cry for their mercy. This is prasangam. Doing this type of association. Then Shraddha will develop into Rati, Bhakti. And then ultimately, as Maharaj was saying, by mercy of Sadhu Sangha, one day, leaving the body, will enter into a universe where Krishna is performing his pastimes, and then enter into that stage of praying bhakti. So, always we should pray, and always we should remember, and always we should cry for Sadhu Sangha, because by mercy of Sadhu Sangha, then we'll become free from this impersonalism which has come from us from the Tassa region, and we'll be swimming in the nectar of Vladini Shakti by mercy of sadhus. Vanchakalbhata Vishta, Vikasani Vichapatitanapa. Vaishnava. I thank you very much. Really, I'm swimming in the desert of this material world. You forced me. I didn't want to come. They forced me. I'm thankful to you.
I asked her on Sunday, I said, oh, I got an email from my he's going to come.
Yeah.
Wants to schedule. So she said, no, I talked to him, I'm bringing in people. That's why I never emailed you back.
Okay.
And then Tuesday, she didn't show up last night. I said, where's Ashram Maharaj? I said, you're bringing him. No, he's coming tomorrow. And then she called me at the last minute and told me, no, he's coming tonight. He wasn't going to come, and then he came.
I had my plan, but Krishna devotees had their plan.
Yeah.
Thank God their plan was victorious.
We're leaving tomorrow for England?
Yeah. I'm just very tired.
I'm leaving in 2 weeks.
So we shot the one button.
Yeah.